Hi guys, welcome to the first episode of the Seven Sins Modern Man podcast. We're going to basically be talking about wrath, but I thought I would just preface that by saying we ended up recording so much in the first episode that we've actually split it into two parts. So you are listening to part one, and I hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to Seven Sins Modern Man. Today we're basically looking at our first proper episode, and today we're going to be looking at wrath. And I'm here with my co-host,
Jack,
who is thankfully hosting me in his house, and it's pretty comfy, and it's nice to actually have someone to talk to about these topics rather than just talking to myself in my room. Basically, yeah, like I first think we wanted to talk about wrath with you in particular, just because I think it's something that we've talked about a lot in terms of like anger and like from the little things like road rage or...
I think we share a lot of the same views on what makes us angry and why.
Yeah, and then I think we consume a lot of similar media that deals with wrath. Like, I think one of the topics we'll be looking at in the macro sense is like human conflict, so like war. Yeah. We watch a lot of like Band of Brothers together, Generation Kill.
We watched Danger Close recently.
Yeah, exactly.
About the Vietnam War.
So it's an interesting topic, and I think we've all got either family that were involved, or we've heard of someone that was involved, or like we want to know more about it, or the history behind it. So it's an interesting topic for us personally. So I think it was something I wanted to talk about first. Also, it's you want my good mate, so I think it was comfy to...
Yeah, it's a good way to start the series off, right?
Yes, yeah. So
it's level of comfortability.
Exactly. So first, sort of going over, I guess, the concept of wrath. I think the seven sins, as they're defined, like the wrath as like from a biblical perspective, I guess, is like extreme anger, or is like extreme. I think we both saw that quote.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to find.
We both saw that quote on the wiki article for the seven sins. It was basically, what was it, judgment?
I'll find it.
Yeah, it's basically like judgment taken to its logical next step. I think something that's kind of interesting that I'll just waffle for a bit while you find it. But basically, like I think something that's kind of interesting that the Bible basically has wrath as a mega sin, like one of the big ones, and yet simultaneously you see the theme of like divine wrath comes up very frequently in at least Catholicism, probably in other religions as well, pretty heavily. Like I know of it in like Hinduism as well, and I'm sure they all have those themes of angry gods,
Yeah.
Stretching all the way back to probably paganism as well. But it's quite interesting, like, you think of, when I was looking for, like, a picture to put up, instead of, when I put up Guernica, I was thinking of, like, it's quite funny, a lot of the images for wrath were the angels, or the angel basically telling Adam and Eve to get out of the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite funny, like, it's this major sin, and yet when the angels do it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. We can never talk to an angel, so we'll never get, like, a statement.
Love of justice perverted to revenge and spite is the Dorothy L. Sayers quote. But I swear that's not the one we found. I think it was slightly different.
Yeah. It was a good one. But basically, the way we're going to take it and interpret it today for you guys is extreme anger or rage or, wrath, like it's being wrathful.
In its modern context.
Yeah, yeah. And loosely, like, we're not going to be dead on exactly the biblical, the Catholicistic. That's not a word.
Yeah.
the religious approach to it. It's more going to be just about, like, personal life. And I think...
We're not professional psychologists either. Like, there's no way that we'd, like, accurately break down this. What is obviously a very complex issue. This is purely just, like, I think personal experiences from two people that share a similar worldview. Yeah.
I think that's, again, like, I think we come to agreement on a lot of things around this subject. And it's something that, sometimes I think you and I have both noticed we can be a little wrathful about in spades.
Yeah, I think if anyone that's listening has ever been in the car while I'm driving, they'll understand how much even really simple things just piss me off.
Yes.
I think it was interesting, the Wikipedia article that Serge sent me was talking about how wrath it stems from impatience, and that kind of hit home for me, because I think that kind of explains where that dude outside that just walked past was just glaring at me.
Here we go. This
He was
is
wrathful, yeah. Wrathful. He it stems from impatience, and I think it does, and I think that's when it turns into, in the concept of wrath, the divine, the deadly sin is when you take out your impatience on people who are undeserving, and that's what wrath
like on
is.
the innocents.
Yep.
Like when you find something so frustrating, you take it out on others is never a positive trait. It's not virtuous.
Yeah,
To deal to people that don't deserve your wrath.
yeah, and I think it's sometimes the question that needs to be asked is like, I don't know, let's go back to the driving thing. Like, if you're behind someone that's driving slowly and you beep at them, is that deserved? Like,
yeah, I guess like that's the problem. I think is the human brain or the human mind is we can justify so many things, and even I think what I wanted to approach today was the micro and the macro. It's kind of how I've split up, as you can see in the draft. It's basically like looking at personal rage. Like at the micro level ourselves, and then at the macro level when things like nations.
I'm never angry. I don't know what you mean.
I think like when nations start justifying their wrath.
Yeah.
When you start hearing people say, "Oh, the drone strike was justified," and it's civilians who bear the brunt. Those innocents.
Well, I think. I mean, I know we'll talk about war more later on, but I think that like the Second World War is one where you could look back and go, there was a lot of wrath to be, I don't know, dished out by the Allies to the Germans because of what they did. But I mean, it was relatively unknown, and there were rumours and things like that during the war, but it wasn't really until afterwards that they realised the scope of this. And I think when the Allies were fighting the Axis, they didn't hate them. Like, the Vietnam War is a war where the Americans hated the Viet Cong. Like,
I'm always drawn back to that documentary with Atticus Ross and what do they do? What's it called?
Ken Burns?
Yeah, Ken Burns.
Yeah,
the Ken Burns one where that guy says, I truly hated them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a personal hatred.
But then you see veterans from like the Second World War, like hugging and crying and being like, we fought the same enemy, which was ourselves.
It'll be something we definitely go over in more detail. What I think first though, we'll look at the more ourselves, I guess, in terms of like the internal or the micro. I put it in the draft because and we already talked about it, but I think
you got this terrible joke coming up.
I always love that bit in the IT crowd where they go to like the stress management clinic, and the guy in the very clipped, very like soft voice is like, "I myself have suffered some terrible rages," and I think that's probably something that like is definitely pertinent to me. Like, I'm not someone who I think explodes outwards all the time, but bottles it, and then when I do, it's very overly aggressive over stuff that might seem minor at the time, but it's like built up.
Yeah,
and I'm not proud of that, but it's something that like definitely I know within myself I want to work on. It's kind of why like I wanted to cover this series is what can be fixed, what can be changed or worked on.
I think a lot of people deal with anger differently though. Like, you deal with it by bottling it up, and I know a lot of people do, and I think maybe I'm the opposite. Like, little things evoke like a quick flash in the pan reaction that seems maybe a bit over the top,
but then it's gone.
And I don't, generally hold on to that kind of stuff in quite the same way. So I'm not sitting on this thing that's made me really angry for a period of time and then have this one other little thing be the spark that sets fire to the tinder that is my anger. It comes, like, I think maybe the emotions on the sleeve is, and there's pros and cons to both. Reacting the way you do, where maybe you get to mull it over more. Like, there's certainly been times where I've been like, man, I really didn't need to get shitty or like angry about that because it's so...
It almost feels dishonest sometimes though. Like, I definitely know I think things of, like, especially people, like interpersonal reactions. You think ill of someone over something they've slighted you for, and you hold a grudge, and then I definitely, I always grew up hearing about, like, Scottish heritage. Like, my Scottish heritage of, like, the clan wars and blood feuds. And, like, I definitely have these, like, deep grudges that I hold for years and years and years. And then, like, we talk about them and I rationalise them and go, that was stupid, You and I both talked about, like, ex-flatmates.
Yeah.
Like, I had one when I very first moved to Wellington who I had all these things to say and hate about her, and poor me, she was horrific. And then I started analysing it and going, I wasn't perfect. I was new to flatting. I wasn't probably I didn't deal with it or communicate. And I think time does heal all wounds, and anger is definitely something that needs time, but you lose that rationality.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I think I'm going to use your quote here, which is like, when you forgive people, you don't forgive them for them. You do it you don't do it for them.
Just to fully attribute that quote, that was something a friend said to me when I was dealing with some personal stuff. She helped me and said that to me. She basically said, "Yeah, it's like it's not for them. Forgiving them is not for them; it's for you," and it's very true. I think
that's the thing, right? Like I also had a flatmate. You know, probably one of the first flat I ever moved into, and she moved in with me and my mate, and we. I think things were fine to start with, but like the crux of it was like her best friend or one of her very, very good friends was like slowly dying from cancer, and I think it was later that year that she actually ended up passing away. And at the time I was pretty blasé and I kind of didn't give a shit about this, that and the other thing, and she had come from like a very warm family home where like, you know, it was a bit more regimented, whereas this was two dudes who had moved out of homes like that and been like, yeah, we can do whatever we want, like let's make a
this is not important. Let's leave it.
Yeah, let's make a pizza at 3 a.m. and then forget about it and come out in the morning and it's like a black disc the size of a poker chip.
A coal sphere.
yeah. And I think like we really clashed heads and it came to a point and she ended up moving out, and I don't feel great about it, but I think later on in life when I touched base with her and was just like, hey, look, you know, I was a bit of a shithead. She kind of said, I don't know if she verbatim said the same thing, but I think she just said, like, it's in the past. We were both going through some stuff and, like, let's move on. But it took years for me to just, like, rationalize and be like, you know what? Maybe I was not.
And again, that forgiveness of yourself, almost like let go of the anger.
Well,
let go of the frustration and go, you know, I don't need to put that on her head anymore.
And I was like, what does this do?
Yeah.
What does it do for me? All it does is like someone mentions this person, or I see this person, or I see something about this person, and suddenly I'm bitter and angry. And like, why? What's the point? It's just like there's so many other things you could be using your time and energy on.
I think that's interesting too, because like I think it's intriguing how many emotions are tied up with anger. I think when I look at it, I don't just see, I was angry. So much time that anger then leads to guilt. I mean, again, I don't want to keep like attributing these horrifically cringy quotes, but like Yoda, like hate leads to anger leads to suffering, leads to blah blah blah.
Yeah, but he also said do or do not. There is no try.
Did he?
Oh,
maybe
someone's gonna correct me if I'm wrong.
No, but like oh man, I had like a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 quote lined up in my head, and I just can't. No, that's right, I have it now.
Oh dear.
That history is written by the victor, and it's probably from someone actually much more powerful and interesting in history than Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. But that's where I got it from.
Do you know what though? I think that's that. I mean, I hate to keep talking about me, but my most recent flat situation got pretty messy, and you know I don't want to go into the specifics of it. But I think the one thing that I took away from that was like, when we overheard the flatmates that we were disagreeing with talking to their friends about us, their friends were always so sympathetic to their cause and going, oh, you know, look, we're so sorry to hear that. Yeah, they are terrible people. Fuck them. Whereas when, you know, we were talking to our friends about it, our friends would empathize with us and go, yeah, you know what? You're right. They are such terrible people. We feel so bad. Fuck them. And it was just like, it's not really reasonable discourse in the same way, because like all it is the person that's feeling afflicted by these other people telling people who are on the same team how they feel. Like it's not the victors, I suppose, but it's the same thing. You don't get the other side of the argument, right?
Yeah, you don't get the other side of the mirror. You're on your side of the looking glass, and that's it.
Yeah.
And, I think that's something. It's something that definitely needs to be looked at in society and in a personal level as well. I mean, we deal with a lot of things in New Zealand where you hear a lot about things like domestic violence and family abuse and spousal abuse and even like elder abuse, and without going too far into these things because they're pretty horrific topics.
Yeah.
And again, warning, we are going to probably talk about some dark topics, so if this is something that personally hits close to home, now is probably the time to
I hate to sound like cliche, but like if it triggers you, like I mean it like in the most genuine way.
Yeah,
if this is something that you are not comfortable hearing, and I mean for a lot of these things, I bet we'll kind of just skirt around them and just acknowledge that these are things that exist.
Yeah.
You know, again, if you want the opinion of someone who is qualified to give advice and discuss this, then I strongly recommend you seek that out. And if you're experiencing these things, I mean, there are help channels out there, and I know that
I've got a couple of resources here on the screen, which are like we're going to talk about a bit later about some anger management resources, because I think a lot of these things like anger management or depression, or if you're suffering something like abuse, it is very hard to sometimes reach out and get the help you need. I've definitely gone through some pretty dark waves of depression for sure, and if I didn't have my support systems like people like Jack here, or other friends or family, or even just like moot third parties, it would be a lot harder to cope with in terms of just like finding the right foot forward. And sometimes it is just like a little bit of a yarn, it's as simple as like a biscuit and a coffee sometimes.
Yeah, or I mean like escapism or the escape from whatever your reality is can manifest itself in so many different ways, and I feel that we're straying a bit off topic here, but I mean, for me it's modelling, and it's like if I've had a really bad shitty day and I feel down and terrible, I've got these things I can go to, if it's going and sitting at my desk and modelling for an hour or whatever. And
that is something good about anger, I think, is that I always feel whenever I'm furious or like really feeling the red mist come down, it's almost like a drive to be productive. I definitely feel like I've achieved the most when I'm either crunched.
That's vengeance. I swear that's what vengeance is.
Yeah,
it's like,
or like that wrathful spirit.
Yeah, that anger drives you. Sorry, I know we've like flip-flopped between very serious topics, but like that hatred and that anger driving you to do something or be something more is almost like the definition of what wrath is, where like it's perverted justice, and that's justice in like a loose term where you see that as being, I don't know, like someone says you're a failure, and you're like, you know what, fuck you, I'm going to go and do...
Yeah, I'm going to turn it towards productivity.
Yeah,
I'm going to better myself.
Exactly.
Fuck you, I'll achieve more. I'll show you. It's like, that's that spitefulness coming.
Eat your words, fuckhead.
Yeah. And I think you and I mean, you've given me the quote, like, get the poison out. Like, we've definitely had...
I think you gave me that quote, and I just said it back to you more times than you've said it to me.
Okay, well, I attribute it to you. But I always hear, like, get the poison out, like, whenever you and I have a vent session about whatever it is.
Yeah.
It could be something minor, like this fucking, someone hit my car and I'm having a shit day.
Minor, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And then, like, getting the poison out means we don't turn it on our loved ones. Or we don't turn it towards the people, we care about. We don't turn it on some innocent, some random dude that, we don't go to Countdown and
punch a
flip
man
out at the self-checkout.
Yeah, over a bag of rice.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
I think that is something I do want to touch on. We're not going to go into too much detail to date this podcast.
Sorry, can I just quickly, there's like a car at the traffic lights that I can see out the window.
Yeah.
And he's like flashing his high beams and like putting his car in reverse and into neutral, like rolling backwards and forwards.
That ain't the definition of spite or like wrath.
I don't know, what the fuck, what is the... first of all, I don't think it's related to wrath. What the fuck is this person doing? Anyway.
Yeah, what does he want to achieve?
He wants to crash. Anyway.
But that's I think that's turning it almost back to like what we know of wrath is like when you feel that anger, that boiling. I definitely feel it as a very definitive sensation, like almost like a...
Fizzing?
The hot head, the fizzing... The boiling blood, like all these metaphors.
Your vision. And this is like real anger. Like
tunnel vision,
I don't think I've experienced this since like... I was going to say since
like
college.
Pure
but
rage.
Like, pure,
morning,
pure... Yeah, since I saw you. This morning. It's like... It does. It like your vision narrows. Like there are like not psychological, but like physical effects that manifest.
Yeah.
It manifests itself like your eyes narrow, your heart rate increases, you tense up. It's almost like fight or flight, but this is just fight. Like there's no,
and that's something I did put on the draft a little bit. Is I think sometimes that we talk about the positives of anger, and that we talk like basically getting something productive out of it, or turning it. I think this comes a time in every man's life where we kind of get to a point where we crave anger. There's something to be said for a lot of martial arts or the gym. Or like fighting. Just fighting people.
Well, it's like people that thrive on confrontation. Like the old like Karen analogy of like, can I speak to the manager? I'm sure there's people out there that are like, they go to a supermarket or they go to like the warehouse, and their sole intention is to be obstinate to like the nth degree, and then stand their ground. Like it's literally like that's their hill to die on. Why don't you have this in white?
Yeah, and also the people we've talked about, like, especially in, like, war and, like, politics, you have people with these political beliefs that, like, or, like, flat earthers is a good example. You know, a pack of fucking...
Are you telling me the earth isn't flat?
Yeah, well, anyway, pack of fucking dickheads, as far as I'm concerned, you know, probably controversial. It's like, oh no, unfriend me if you're a flat earther. Big loss. But, like, that pack of people, it's like, they're very, is a good word, obstinate, like, they just stand their ground on the stupidest fucking things. And
fervent belief and refusal to look at other people's point of view.
Yeah, like, the aggression of the interaction is almost what they look forward to more than the real point, or like what they're getting at.
I'm trying to think of the analogy, but it's like when you're a kid and you're like, I want it, and you like fight and argue and spit and scream and shit your pants in the supermarket, and you're, you know, for your parents to buy you this thing, and then you get home and you don't eat it, or like you don't play with it, and it's like, what was the point? Like, I do wonder if flat earthers go home and they're just like, I know the earth is round. I like the argument.
He goes home and spins his globe in his study. And he goes
sipping a whiskey.
Yeah.
His oak bookcases and his...
There's no way flat earthers have oak bookcases. They don't have taste.
MDF. Raw MDF. Anyway.
But yeah, it's something that definitely, I think, I've definitely found myself getting very angry over very stupid things. And I think even children are the same, in that would literally letting the moment pass and being a little more zen about it lead to ultimate, you know, nirvana. You know, you almost have like the Buddhist belief there. It's like I mean, even I said I wouldn't bring it back to the religious theocracy kind of things, but
here we go.
Even Jesus, like the turn the other cheek mentality.
Yeah,
where it's like the peaceful approach ultimately gives you peace. You know, even if other people seek to harm you or cause conflict or cause danger to you.
But I think that's what I was saying before, is like, you know, you're maybe not measured, but like your approach to, like, if you're jaded or gypped by someone, isn't to like lash out and harass them. It's to like sit on it. It gives you that measured response time, and I don't.
To be fair, I don't think that's the case with me. I think that's that's the ideal approach. That would be.
But
good.
you brew on it, and
I brew on it, and I do get petty and cruel, and I don't mean to be there, and I do recognize that with myself, and that's when anger does turn to those other emotions like guilt, self-hatred, depression. It flows into so many other little, like, you know, nerve centers in the brain.
Interestingly enough, sorry, I just want to go back to the craving anger thing,
sure.
because we were talking about, you know, like in later life you start doing like martial arts or going to the gym or whatever. I do wonder if that's just another way of like getting the poison out. Is like
I think so.
You recognize in yourself that there is that fire that doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh god, I sound so cringy saying a fire within yourself. There are two wolves constantly fighting.
Yeah. I love it. Two wolves.
Yeah, but like, you know, you recognize that there's something in you that can be evoked, and it probably scares you. So you're like, you know what? I'm going to sate that anger by going to the gym and like running on the treadmill or punching a punching bag.
But I think that's the directing it to something productive. That's the directing it to something good and getting it out in a cathartic way.
Exactly.
That doesn't hurt others.
What I'm saying is you're a better person if you go to the gym.
I'd agree. I know I see a lot of my friends talking on Facebook about like martial arts, like Muay Thai or kickboxing, or even just like standard, you know, boxing. And I always see them as people that have, you know, like their outlet. It's a healthy avenue to get aggression out. Yeah. And even things like sparring, you don't hate the man on the other side of you in a spar, or like you don't hate the punching bag. You're getting that taut physical animal anger out.
It's interesting, like you watch, like, I mean, and look, I'm gonna say the wrong thing here because I don't watch sport ball and stuff on TV, but like, you know, when you watch like rugby players, no, not even rugby players, that's a bad analogy, but like, I don't know, the Conor McGregor fights, what does he fight? Like not WFP.
UFC? Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. There's this posturing around, like, before a fight, they're like, man, fuck this person, their whole family's rubbish, you know, like there's this real anger and like,
how they do the face up when they like meet each other in the press hall.
They try and like
face to face,
try and like thrash at each other a little bit.
Basically a hongi, but not quite.
And it's like there's this posturing around them hating each other, and it's like, how much of this is just for the cameras and shit? Like, do you really hate each other? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's beneficial. Maybe it makes you more angry, but it's like, I think anger clouds judgment.
I watched that thing recently. Talking about sport, I watched that thing recently about the TT. And it's really interesting hearing about the rivalries of motorsport races. I think they cover a pretty wide spectrum. Like, you get the racers that actually did hate each other and fucking hated each other Then you get the races that have this great rivalry lasting, 20, 25 years, and it's nothing if not like consummate sportsmen and professionals.
Like, who did Senna...
I don't know.
The movie. I'm trying to think of the movie where...
There's a movie called Senna.
Yeah. There's a movie... Oh, well, it's not the movie, but like the other racer that he...
Yeah.
He, like... You know, like, after the race, they... I don't know.
I know who you mean.
But, like, they didn't actually hate each other.
Yeah.
Like the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, where, what's his face? Breaks his arm.
But here's the thing, you and I, but like, we're trying to stay on topic, but something you and I both share that we love is Step Brothers, right? Like the movie Step Brothers. Will Ferrell.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Don't you dare. John C. Reilly. Directed by Adam McKay, I think?
Yep.
Anyway, that movie is like the definition of, I think, like a male friendship is there's like aggression, hatred, betrayal, and then true love and brothership.
Yeah.
And like true camaraderie, and I think that's like kind of a fun microcosm of a movie.
I do like that Step Brothers has almost nothing to do with Wrath, but we managed to slip it in.
We managed to slip it, yeah. Well, I can't have you as a guest and not talk about Step Brothers.
Great movie, by the way, guys. Please watch Step Brothers, especially the extended cut.
Yeah, I still think we should do our cut where we cut all the deleted scenes in and take everything from all cuts of it into one horrific, badly paced.
Keep your eyes on Sergio's podcast for more updates on that one, guys. Should we move on to the next kind of
section? Well, first before we move on to, we're going to do some QA from fans, our two fans,
and a quick word from our sponsor.
But first, I just want to cover, just in case you are feeling any severe feelings of anger management problems, whether it's in your life, in your relationship, towards your work, any sort of, if you can't get control, maybe have a look at some external resources. I think it's important to talk to us, even if you want to just send the group a PM, like the Seven Sins Modern Man Facebook page, just to get it out. All comments are confidential, if it's a private message, or talk to your friends and family, but just don't stay quiet about it, because I think these things, New Zealand men in particular, I mean, you've obviously seen all the ads over the last years about depression.
Yeah.
New Zealand men are fucking hesitant to like talk, and
men in general are bad, but man,
yeah, something about our like culture of I think we're a pretty tough bunch. Yeah, and like I think coming from where we come from historically, we're like tough, self-sufficient communities.
How do you do this? Do you have like a link down the bottom, or
I'll probably put a link in the Facebook page, but I've basically got headfirst.co.nz. Seems like a really good resource for anger management. And I also found a pretty good page on healthnavigator.org.nz. But I'll put the links in the Facebook probably. But the thing is, you can probably just Google anger management and just find some reputable New Zealand links.
I also think, though, that it's important to say, like, if you or anyone you know is experiencing things like domestic abuse, like the subsidiaries or the effects of people not managing anger in a healthy way, then that's the other thing that maybe we can put some links down the bottom to resources that people have.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I know that that's a really tricky and
again, I think we're kind of like relatively humorous dudes, and the podcast is kind of an approach look at these in a fun light, but like at the same time, these things do happen, and it's a horrific way to take something that's a pretty normal human emotion and turn it in a very unhealthy way towards important people in your life.
Yeah.
So that is something we do want to just say is like there is avenues out there for help and support.
Generally, this is going to be a funny podcast. Well, hope it's funny, there's elements where obviously we're not taking the piss or trying to make a mockery out of these things. So hopefully you can understand from the fact that our tones are slightly different when we're talking about these things.
We're trying to I guess looking at being respectful, but obviously you and I are voicing the dark side of humour of things, so we might joke about the wrong thing to some people. But I think respect is a two-way street. We're trying to be respectful of these situations, so just try and be respectful. If we say something stupid, it's not intended with malicious intent,
Unless it's from me to Sergio, in which case
it's definitely got malicious intent, for sure.
I'm going to kick under the table.
I think we want to move on to some fun questions from our two fans, the two people that sent me questions.
It's cool being on the first one because all the bad stuff is here.
Yeah, and some of them are interesting. So, we've already got psychoanalysis in the first question.
How the fuck do we answer that last one? We'll get there.
I'll get there. So, how/have you sublimated your own rage/wrath against your parents? You go first.
No, you can go first on this one.
So I think sublimated is turning towards good. or like coping with. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so I had to Google it. I'll admit, I'm a big fucking dumb.
What does it mean? Because I don't know for sure.
Psychoanalytic theory, convert or modify into a culturally higher or socially or more acceptable activity. So I'm assuming what it means is like,
move towards good.
Yeah, but your own anger towards your parents. How have you?
I honestly don't. I had a lot of anger towards my parents and my stepdad for sure. Like being a fucking angsty teenager.
Oh, who didn't?
But growing up, man, you just start to see their struggle as human. Like when you start paying rent and having to do fucking laundry and dishes, and you start going like, man, I was a whiny little shit about things that didn't matter. Like. And you start to kind of see the human elements as like, they don't know all the answers, and therefore they're like us. And they start to do cooler stuff. The older you get, they're like, here, have some beers.
You know, my dad did donuts with my brother in the car. Allegedly, he won't admit that he did it, but my brother was like, they hired this like
Subaru, on public forum now.
Subaru Forester and did like donuts in the ski field car park at Cadrona. And my dad like had the door open, and he was like half out of the car. And he refuses to admit it, but my brother's like, adamant.
He's like, I'm not cool. I refuse to admit I'm cool. Such a weird thing to refuse to admit.
I think it's interesting. That's a really difficult question to answer because I had a really rocky relationship with my parents for the longest time. Because if you've met me, I'm just a fucking cunt, and like it was really tough. And I think as I've grown, I've just stopped being such a cunt to them. Like it just. Like, there's a lot of things I wish I could go back and change and, I could apologise for, but I can't. And so I think the way forward is realising that, at least in my situation, my parents will always love me and I just need to show them the same kindness and respect that I would expect. Like, it's just a growth thing. Like, there wasn't one quick trick. Click here and download free spam. Like, it wasn't one thing. It was just like, yeah, it was just one thing. It wasn't one thing, sorry.
And is there anything else you wanted to say about that question, or do you think?
No.
Yeah, I figure like parents is basically something most people learn with time.
Some people never heal the...
Yeah, and some people have different situations. Like the worst my parents ever did for me was maybe like, you can't do this thing because it's stupid. I never really had like actual horrific situation.
When I was a proper rebellious teenager, I stole wine from my dad's wine cellar, and like being the little shit that I was, I didn't really know that these things, didn't know, but I guess I didn't care these things had a cost.
Yeah. And
I later came to know that the first bottle of wine I stole from my dad was a bottle of champagne valued at about $5,000. And like when you're 16 or 17, I don't think you have an appreciation for that, but like
I think that's the other thing too, is you don't have an appreciation for the whole lot. I mean, it's like 18 years to raise a child, minimum. Really, it takes longer. I mean, my mum, my stepdad and my dad have all helped me a lot longer in adult life.
Did things ever get physical between you and your, like, not sexually, like, aggressively between, like, you and your...
Why would you specify? Not sexually.
Between, like, you and your dad
in terms of, like, fighting?
Yeah.
Oh, there's been times where I want to fucking hit him, that's for sure.
Did you?
Nah.
Right.
Nah. I've always... I've had very few fights in my life, and most of them have been, like, sanctioned. Like,
you are a big pussy, I understand.
But yeah, I think like I've had like one fight in town, one fight on a bus, and like it's never been family. Like,
so you're just from Marston, just in case you didn't know. It was the bus to town that he had to fight on.
Excellent. I think honestly, if anyone's feeling rage or wrath towards your parents, and it's not founded in something very serious, it's typically like the older you get, the more you understand them as real people.
Well, actually, interestingly enough, the next question is,
what's the worst outcome to happen to you from not curtailing your wrath?
I spent a night in the cells in Wellington Police Station because me and my dad got in a fist fight.
Talking about that.
Which was pretty fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still got the bail notice that was like,
I think like,
do not offer violence to your father.
From an outside perspective, we've been friends since I think probably your relationship with your dad's definitely healed in a major way, I guess.
And he's not a bad person.
Yeah, I've never really seen.
And honestly,
guys.
I don't know how the fuck he put up with me. Like I look back now and I give credit to my parents that they didn't murder me. Like they didn't physically alter my DNA by removing limbs and beating me with them. Like I was a pretty terrible kid.
I'm trying to think about what's the worst outcome to happen from wrath. It's tricky. Like I think mainly of like relationships, man. Like, not letting go of stupid shit and just being angry about the wrong things for way too long and getting bitter and resentful of people that were trying their best given the circumstances.
You miss opportunities. You miss the chance of personal growth. Like, if you're
or making the right path. Yeah,
if you're looking inward with this hatred, you miss like things that come up, and that's, I think, you know, I don't have any specific experiences, but I know I've
definitely been angry towards people or like friends and been like, I don't want to fucking see them, I don't want to hang out with them, and like they must hate me too. And then you find out later it was nothing to them.
Yeah,
and that they were more than happy to talk and hang out, and you basically lost a friend or a relationship or someone important to you.
Because of the conflict you had in your own head.
Because of your own self-boiling, you know, which is silly, you know, which is definitely one of the major downsides of anger. No one wants to be around an angry fucker who's always angry, you know. It's just not a pleasant emotion to be around.
No, and I don't think it's healthy. Like I was saying before, I mean, you know, like that analogy of it's not for them, it's for you, is like, it isn't, it's not healthy. Like, if you've ever been through a breakup, who fucking hasn't? Like, you drop weight like nothing else. No gym makes you drop weight like a breakup does. It's fantastic. Well, it's not. There you go.
Or gain weight.
Yeah, well, or gain weight, right? Yeah. But like, the feelings you have constantly, your body is this emotional turmoil of like just these shitty feelings, and like you stop functioning as a human because you can't do other stuff.
You sit in bed fuming.
Yeah, you do. You're like, you don't eat, and then when you do eat, you eat a packet of Oreos, and you don't have a shower for 3 days, and like. Yeah. It's not. I'm not suggesting that it's like a great way to live, but it goes to show that it just changes your existence. And like, if you hold on to anger, it might not make you sit in bed and eat a packet of Oreos and not shower for 3 days, but like a little bit of anger repeated over and over and over, like these little things you hold on to, it starts to. It's like the straw that broke the camel's back.
I think I gave a pretty non-specific answer before, so I think I want to give something specific. I think in one situation where I think my sister and I had a fight, and like I think I basically told her fuck off and get out of my room. And this was pretty young, like probably like 12, maybe 13. So like not old enough to, you know, like I think my sister and I are pretty good close friends now. But like at the time I definitely like was like fuck off out of my room and pushed her, and I didn't realize there was a plastic bag on the floor, and she like slipped on the plastic bag and fell over. And like started crying, and immediately it wasn't "fuck you, I'm glad you fell over." Immediately it's like guilt, like anger at yourself, like oh I shouldn't have pushed her, like you're not meant to like ever push like a girl.
Fear of repercussions.
Yeah, fear of repercussions, like mum's gonna fucking kill me.
She's gonna throw the modem over.
My sister hates me. Like I didn't actually want to make her cry, and like I think like it wasn't like an injury. I didn't like hit her. It was just a bad situation. But it's something I remember now, and it's been like a decade and a half, you know. It's something that stays with you. It's just like, I fucked up and I hurt someone I love, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's the thing about anger is like, you don't ever think of something that you were happy for a second in it lasts 15 years. You know, when you're angry for a second, you cause a repercussion. It lasts forever, man, like in your mind. It's one of those big mistakes that you either learn from or it consumes you, you know?
Yeah. I think the next question is a little bit more lighthearted.
Well, I don't know if it's lighthearted.
Was the best drink at Cobb & Co. actually a traffic light?
Oh, right. Okay, I thought you were talking about the other one. Okay.
I didn't actually look into the other one.
Oh, right. I did a little bit.
Okay, well, you can talk about that later.
Okay.
I just thought that, like, we'd intercept. You know what? It's not actually lighthearted. I think this is a very important discussion, and if I can, I just want to...
Yeah, you can ruminate.
Take the reins here. If you think there was a drink better than the traffic light at Cobb & Co., close the
immediately have a counter-argument.
No, I actually...
When we went to Cobb & Co...
I didn't go to Cobb & Co much as a kid.
When we went to Cobb & Co as a kid, we couldn't legally drink. There could have been a better alcoholic... That's basically my point, though, is that there probably was a better drink that was alcoholic. So we never experienced it.
Okay.
So let's preface it by saying, if you're a child and you think there was a better traffic light...
For all the children listening.
For the broad child audience, if you think there's a better drink than a traffic light... you're wrong. You're fundamentally incorrect.
Fight me.
And I'll see you in the ball pit at Cobb & Co. I think Cobb & Co Masterton's gone, but I hope it's not. I hope it's getting a rebirth.
As a kid, I was used to like spiders.
Spiders are lit.
And like,
that makes sense.
Milky drinks, like milkshakes and shit. And my mum would always be like, you can get it, but you have to eat your dinner. And I get the drink and drink the whole thing and be like, I'm not hungry.
For me, it's ginger beer, man. I like ginger beer then, I like ginger beer now.
I know you do.
Okay, we'll briefly talk about the other question, just because I did look into this. So could you talk about Operation Wrath of God? Operation Wrath of God is the when Mossad chased the perpetuators of the terror attack on the Munich Olympics, I believe. I don't know enough about it. It's a piece of history. I really like learning about these conflict situations or special force operations, so that's something I'm definitely going to go read more about. I've seen the movie Munich, and I really liked it. But I don't know enough about the historical ramifications.
It was basically, I think, from reading the Wikipedia article, it was a covert operation directed by Mossad to assassinate the individuals involved in the 1972 Munich massacre.
Yeah.
In which 11 members of the Israeli Olympic team were killed. So I think the question probably resolves around the fact that it was a
very targeted hit on people who'd done a horrible crime.
It was, and it was like I guess it's an eye for an eye, but it was the not knee jerk, but it was the reaction to the killing of 11 innocent people was the hunting down and murdering of...
Yeah, and I think Mossad is almost famously known for that. Mossad has definitely gone after people for dark things before, and in doing so, are they dark themselves? I don't know.
I don't know, but then the question is, are they a military unit, Mossad?
Yeah, I think they're like espionage, like kind of like MI5.
Right,
CIA.
so it's a special ops secret service.
They probably have like a military wing.
I guess the question though is like...
Yeah.
It comes down to an eye for an eye thing, and it's like what other punishment would you give to the people who commit a terror attack?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. It's like the argument around the death penalty. It's a tricky one.
If someone kills someone, should they die themselves?
Yeah, and then are we better as a society? You know,
for two deaths instead of one.
Yeah, and then it's also like, I think there's a lot of people that argue yes, you should torture and perpetuate hurt on someone who caused hurt to all these families, and it's like, I don't know. I really don't know. It doesn't have a clean answer, and that's the problem with it.
Yeah.
That's why
I don't think it ever will.
Lasts. Yeah.
I don't think, but the problem is, it's like you might have a really strong opinion about this, and I might have a really strong opinion about this, and the people that are listening might. But I doubt that would ever be. I doubt they would ever fall in the same. Even a Venn diagram of opinions, it probably wouldn't even fall within the same...
Yeah, and even saying, you know, in this situation, this is different than the average murder. It's like, well, no murder's average. It's like, it just goes around forever. Yeah. So, let's move on to something more lighthearted.
Like, does any hero know their own theme music that we're so accustomed to? I can't now immediately
The only thing I could think of when I read this question was John Cena. So the first
question done. Like it's
of
course he knows.
Yeah, well,
you can't see me.
Did he choose it? Like I don't know.
He wrote it himself.
You had like a formal meeting.
I don't know if he wrote it himself.
John Cena sits down with his agent. He goes, "What theme song do you want, John?" John slides him a tape. Like,
no. John just goes,
but like trumpets.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, we'll see what the studio can do." And they've got like a dedicated mixing desk for John Cena's dudes.
Millions of dollars later.
I couldn't think of anyone else. Genuinely, I'm still thinking now. I'm like, did Obama have a theme song? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe we should think of theme songs for our heroes. Maybe we should try and find something for Jacinda Ardern.
The Ashley Bloomfield theme song.
Oh, there was that hip hop lo-fi beats for Ashley Bloomfield.
You find the weirdest.
I know. Stuff. Honestly, I love it. I love it.
I don't know if it's a theme song though.
No, I think a theme song has to be like you could like the John Cena one. You say 3 seconds of it, and you know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like I went do 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 do, and you'd know I'm talking about John Cena, or at least that meme, you know. So next question.
I think fair warning. These questions divulge a little bit away from the concept of wrath. I don't think there's any way to kind of bring them
But I
back.
feel wrathful about a lot of them.
like the next one.
Yeah. Can we justify listening to Nirvana in the year of our Lord 2020? No. Okay, this is why I'm wrathful.
I don't care.
I think, honestly, music is so subjective, man. There's people listening to fucking Rachmaninoff, or however you fucking pronounce it.
Nice, man.
Descartes. No, that's good.
It's good to do research before you say words.
But, like, there's people that are still listening to, 1700s loot, I'm sure there's people...
What's that Filthy Frank video? Like, caveman music?
Yeah. I feel like music is entirely subjective.
Yeah.
Yes, you can be objectively, this was a bad tuning of a guitar, but is it objective that the song's bad for it? I don't know.
I also think that, like...
That's not talking about Nirvana, by the way. That's just generalising.
No, but
I like Nirvana, personally. Like, I listen to Lithium quite frequently.
I just think that it's like live and let live. Like, anyone that's, like, really hateful, like, to bring it back to wrath, anyone that's really, like, angry and spiteful. I mean, is anger even wrath? Wrath is, like,
Wrath is anger, fundamentally.
But it's like, wrath is like putting it back on someone else. But like, if anyone's really furious about the shit other people listen to...
I actually do have an analogy for this.
Yeah.
When I was in boarding school, I remember it was basically, you either like R&B or rap, like, American music. Yeah, American music, or like that subculture, or you like metal. Those are the two genres, and anything else is not valued. And if you don't like what I like, you're not valued. And I remember it being a real big thing. Like, some kids were into System of a Down, and the rest weren't. And some kids were into Kanye, and others weren't. And it was like a real big divide.
It's like society at a micro level.
And then I look at my Spotify now, and it's like, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Elizabethan opera coupled with Kanye.
Yeah, with some like really strange cafe dark jazz. I always joke with my mates about.
I don't know. I think and memeing on it is another thing. Like memeing about music that could be maybe seen as being objectively bad is funny. Yeah. Like young Justin Bieber, like 2013. It's Justin weird. Bieber was like, he was reviled as like, girls loved him and all the guys were like, oh, what a dumbass, this sucks. And personally, the first time I ever listened to him, I did think he was a girl, but that's beside the point. And I think that like memeing on music is just maybe the objectivity of it.
I also think like later in life, sometimes you fucking find you joke about a song so much you start loving it. I remember Vitas. We used to play that ha 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 song so often. It became like a staple. Yeah, that one. It became like a staple of every party at our flat would play that without fail. And stuff like, I'm on this like Discord server at the moment. We always play that Hall & Oates song, Out of Touch.
Well, what about like Crazy Frog? Crazy Frog was like almost like the first meme music video. Where it was,
ringtones
like,
and shit.
Everyone was like, what the fuck is this? Like old people were like, what the fuck? And my dad was singing Crazy Frog in the car. Like...
For the last 10 years. Today he was singing Crazy Frog.
He won't stop.
He won't learn.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think the next question's good though.
Yep. Do you want to read it?
What is the best instant noodle? Now, I've got a really good answer to this.
I've got a couple, yep. You go.
I like noodle.
I like noodles.
No, okay, personally, I think that you can't go wrong with just mee goreng. Like,
I think it's like everyone's first taste of a real packet of noodles.
Yeah,
it's like from
Maggi. Dried peas and carrot.
Yeah, boys like Maggi chicken. Men like mee goreng.
Yeah, I think for me, the barbecue chicken mee goreng is like, because fundamentally,
what's it called? Like the gateway.
It's
like the gateway drug to real noodles.
Mee goreng is the gateway drug to like all the East Asian.
You had an interesting remix though. You told me about today that I'm very excited to try.
So you take any instant noodle, doesn't matter, and you substitute the noodles for udon noodles, which I love. Now, if you don't like udon noodles,
it won't work for you.
Stop listening to the podcast and unfriend me. And Sergio too.
You specifically.
But like you mix it all with the udon noodles instead, and I think it's fantastic. And often what I did with the barbecue chicken one is I'd take like shredded chicken or cook some chicken and like cook the flavouring through it and cook it with the udon noodles, and it takes a meal that's fundamentally not very healthy. It doesn't give you much sustenance, and it turns it into a meal that's a bit more wholesome.
I think you could jazz noodles up so much. Like recently I made some mee goreng and I diced up some streaky bacon into it, and it just adds so much to the dish.
I like adding
the high cuisine.
I like adding coriander.
Yeah.
Like dried coriander, cooking it in with the noodles.
Yeah.
And then also adding am I thinking of chives? No, spring onion and an egg, like frying.
I think there's a point. There's like kind of like a spectrum of basically instant noodles to ramen.
Yeah,
and you're starting to get towards that.
It's just like, it's just shitty ramen. Like, it's still, yeah.
I mean, I think I'm pretty blessed in that I've lived or flatted next to two Asian supermarkets in Wellington, the one in Kilbirnie and Yan's near Webb Street.
Oh, yep.
And
Yan's is great, by the way.
For
if
sure.
Wellington, go to Yan's.
Yeah, if you go to Yan's, there's fucking enough noodles to cover the horizon. Basically, okay, so my opinion is that you can't go wrong with mee goreng because it's the gateway drug to real noodles.
Yeah.
But once you're at that point where you want to experiment and get a little crazy, a little kinky with
once you've done the equivalent of noodle meth.
And Dylan, if you're listening, I spent so fucking long on Google Images trying to find my favourite noodles. Because I don't know what they're called. It's a blue square bowl. And I finally found them. So my favourite instant noodles are China Doll Garlic. And it took me so long to find the packet. It's basically a blue square bowl one. And I've only ever seen it at Yan's so far, and it's so good. It's so yum. It's very much an eat on its own noodle, and you're fine. You don't need to add anything to it.
Yeah, I think a lot of those Japanese brands and maybe other East Asian brands that make
some of the Korean ones are real good.
Yeah, ones that you see at like Japanese truck stops and stuff, where like they're a bit more wholesome than just like starchy carbohydrate noodles and some sugar water, like as a seasoning sachet.
It's almost like it's like a broth, and they have noodles as almost like a side.
There's a really good video of the guy who plays Filthy Frank, Joji, doing a collab with First We Feast, the guy from I can't remember his name, the host from Hot Ones.
Oh, Sean Evans.
Yeah. And they go to like this Japanese mini mart in downtown New York, and they're talking about like these noodles, and they've got like bits of potato in them and stuff like that. Like they're cup noodles, but the the dry potato turns into this like really light, delicious potato. And like I was looking at it, and like the broth doesn't even look like broth; it looks like gravy. And I'm like, that looks like good 2-minute noodles, like instant noodels. So. I
remember once we went to the supermarket though, and I was super poor, and I had enough to buy a 30 box of Yum Yum Duck, and at the time, I was a big fan of the Yum Yum Duck noodles, and after 20 packets or so of Yum Yum Duck over like a month, I don't even think it was a month. That's being optimistic. It was 2 weeks. Yeah, I was fucking sick of Yum Yum Duck. So my advice, if you're going down the route of experimentation in noodles, diversify your portfolio.
Try all of them, except the ones that always have like a chicken or a small child spitting flames. Those ones will burn.
Well, if you're a fan of spice,
even then.
The chicken spitting flame will put you through your paces. But it's good. It's good.
I like the next question. Okay. You can read this one. I read the last one.
What's the worst? What's the worst thing you've ever done for the right reason?
I kind of wish that I'd had more time to prepare for this one, because I feel like there's a lot of analogies that I could prey on. I could bring up. Jesus, that's weird. There's a lot of analogies that I could use where that would fall into this category. I think that's a really great question.
Yeah.
Because I think that it basically treads the line of what is good and what is right, like what is moral and what is just, and it's like that's where I think the opposite of that, or like the people that are on the receiving end of that, are often people who generate the emotion of wrath. You know, like just off the top of my head, like a military operation where you can save one company but not another. You know, and then the people that you can't save, if they survive, they start to like hate you or something like that.
Kind of like the definition of hard choices.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, the worst thing you've ever done for the right reasons could be something like deciding to switch off your grandma's life support, or like you witness a car crash, and there's one person who's like alive but clearly gonna die, and then there's one person who's
for sure,
who's like
that choice.
Well, you said your dad Chris is a paramedic, or stepdad Chris is a paramedic, and he said some pretty shit.
Yeah, and I think like if you look at the concept of triage in general, it's like we prioritize the one who's closest to dying,
or like got the best chance of survival.
Yeah,
right?
If they're gonna die, like that's it. You gotta kind of like acknowledge
are they past the point of no return or not?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's real tricky. Or like I think
good question.
I think to bring back to the question, I mean, we can go to the super macro level and look at those really hard choices. I mean,
do you have your own experience? Or
but I guess like bring it back down to the micro, like. I think for me, the worst thing I've ever done that I find the hardest every time it's happened, and it hasn't happened often, is probably letting go of a friend. Like, literally just, not ghosting, but like, acknowledging that the friendship will suffer through prolonged contact. Like, literally working out, we can't be friends forever. It's toxic to me, it's toxic to you.
It's like a slow, long breakup.
And I think that applies to relationships too, like a intimate relationship as well. I think that I've definitely had that where I'm going like, it's for the right reasons, but fuck, it doesn't make it any easier. Yeah. Like I think it's good for us, but Jesus. And I've talked to someone recently. I'm not going to bring up names. Who has been going through a real tough time with a breakup. Jesus. And I think that's like. Ultimately, it's going to be a healthy move.
Yeah.
It's going to be a healthy move, but boy, it's not a fun process or a fun journey. while you're on it, and it's a hard road to stomach sometimes.
Yeah, and I've heard plenty of analogies like, oh, I cheated on my girlfriend, so I'm going to break up with her and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, where it's like there's just no, it's almost like there's no clear winner. Like it's a messy answer.
Yeah.
So,
and no one's a good guy, no one's a bad guy. It's not that black and white. It's very grey.
But then it's subjective because someone might look at it from outside and be like, of the mindset that no, you are the bad guy, or no, they're the bad guy, or something.
Yeah, I guess that's where personal ethics come in. You know, is what you've done okay?
Yeah,
and that's the tough thing. It's like
it's actually really good questions. To be fair, when I looked at this, all I looked at was the Cobb and Co and the instant noodles one.
Didn't expect like real thought provoking. Yeah, no, some of them are really good. But let's read the last one together.
3, 2, 1.
What's that smell? I don't know, like a nice room. It's honestly like lightly perfumed for all.
I reckon it's regret.
Regret by Dolce & Gabbana. Sort of ruined it. No, I can't smell anything really.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe...
It smells like a clean house.
Yeah, coffee.
Yeah.
We've got coffees here just so we don't fall asleep.
That was part 1 of the Wrath episode of Seven Sins Modern Men, and stay tuned for part 2.